bargain.
Wow, that's pretty good. Yeah, finding more hands.
So I keep triggering woomphs out here, and it's kind of hard to explain what a woomph is, but in this case, there's a hard layer of wind slab on top of weaker snow. And by me weighting that hard, relatively sturdy layer of snow, it causes the weaker layer of snow to collapse. And when this happens on steeper slopes, you trigger avalanches. So I'm not going to be doing any steep stuff anytime soon. This is usually the case out here in Colorado. I came out here to hike Mount Sherman, and there is a path that more or less avoids the most treacherous avalanche terrain, but you're still in avalanche runouts and stuff. So it's kind of sketchy to do solo. There's a trail at the back of this campground, and I really wanted to know just like what kind of trail it is, but I'm gonna have to come back here with my skis. It's just not worth trudging through the snow like this. I'm actually pulling down some pretty decent solar right now. I mean, 160 watts is about as good as it gets these days. Eventually we'll get a clear day, but not today. Well, this is where I'm gonna call it. That road, I don't know where it goes. It looks impossibly straight on my map, and I just can't find it. And yeah, I just can't find a path to keep going up that looks safe and also skiable. So we're just gonna go down. Look at her, just soaking up the sun while I'm gone. Good job, Bean. This fan is the bane of my existence. I need to keep it running because even with it running, I get a bunch of condensation on my windows overnight. And yeah, there has to be ventilation right now. All right, get your springs. Oh no, where did that go? Okay, I've given up on finding the spring. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to cut this spring in half. Obviously that's not ideal, but that might actually work. Okay, so I think the literal source of the noise is these brushes. And I think they're making noise because they're allowed to move. Like there's tons of lateral play here. So if I can shim these, I'm just gonna use like some paper or something. I think a shim would quiet these down. So I think for sure the shims are going to fix this in the short term because they're forcing the brushes to wear in a different way than they were before. Oh, it's silent. Well, we got through most of the night without any squeaks. I would consider that a success. I'm going to try tweaking things a little bit. Quiet for now. It's hot. I've started using this butane stove for all of my cooking. It's been kind of overcast, and even with full sun in the wintertime, I have to do some driving to keep my batteries topped off, and I don't want to do any driving right now because there's a couple problems with my van. The drive shaft still isn't fixed. You may have seen in the last video I got it balanced, but the balance is off even worse now after having it machine balanced. So I think I just need a new drive shaft, and my clutch release cylinder is leaking a lot of fluid. So I have some parts on order, and yeah, I'm just trying to post up basically out here and wait for those parts to come in. This is butternut squash, sweet potato, red onion, celery, parsley, sage, and rosemary. So that door contact triggers the power lock on the sliding door, but the key and the lock on the inside still works. So until I get that fixed, I'm just gonna have to keep in mind that that door needs to be locked separately. I also had a local come in and check on me, which is super sweet. He just wanted to make sure I was okay because I've been there for a few days. And he said there's a moose in the area, which is exciting. And also that Mount Sherman is not skiable right now because there's too many rocks. Well, it's Saturday. I'm still not liking the snow conditions. The snow is feeling a little bit more consolidated now, but it's moving around a lot up high because of the wind. So I think I'm gonna need to give it another couple days at least. And I hope I have enough supplies to make that work. My main concern right now is diesel. I should have filled up my tank before I drove in here, but I'd only driven 90 miles and I figured 3/4 of a tank would be enough diesel for however long I wanted to stay up here, but it actually might not be. So it's been getting pretty cold up here, and the only real problem I've had is that my toilet vent has been freezing up. I recently added a T to my heater vent so that my toilet stays warmer, and that should allow it to compost more readily, because before the toilet was just like freezing basically and the composting wasn't happening. And I won't bore you with what that looks like, but now the toilet is composting great. It's just the vent is freezing up because so much condensation is going down the vent hose that it's freezing on the tube. So it's not as bad of an issue as it might seem. I don't smell the toilet at all unless I pull the drawer out, and then there's like a little bit of a smell when I open the lid to the toilet. Okay, so I have a little real life riddle / brain teaser for you guys. Right now it is about 2:15 p.m., which is solar noon, and my solar panels are pulling down 240 watts. And that's about what you would expect this time of year in January with 400 watts on the roof. However, a couple days ago it was overcast and my solar generation was way down. But there was a 10-minute period where the clouds parted and the sun shined through directly on me. It was like a little sunbeam. And when that happened, I was pulling down 300 watts. So the riddle is, how is this possible? And I'll let you pause right here if you want to think about it. So the answer is clouds. And I think if you think about it, it'll actually be pretty obvious. So like, you can see it if you look at a cloud or look at a picture of a cloud. The clouds are brighter than the blue sky. We usually think of the blue sky as being bright, but it's actually pretty dark. And so on that day, the clouds were reflecting sunlight onto the solar panels. And this might be obvious to some people, but I've been living in a van for 2 years, and it just occurred to me that this was happening. All right, well, today's Sunday. I'm just doing a little scouting today. I'm gonna walk up to the end of the road, or at least the end of the drivable section of the road, just because I don't really know where that spot is on a map, and it's gonna help me plan out my trip and see how early I need to start. And I'm gonna see if I can get my drone in the air and scout the snow conditions. Bean juice will make your gray water smell so bad, so. Has a good amount of electrolytes. Pretty good after a hike, I'd say. So the overnight low last night was supposed to be 18, but it's 8 right now. I think it's so calm. We got a temperature inversion last night. There's this saying when you're winter hiking or traveling in the backcountry in the winter that you should be bold and start cold. And we are definitely doing that today. The reason we don't start with all of our layers on is because as soon as we get moving, your body starts generating more heat and then you start sweating, which is really dangerous. But I've been moving for a bit now and I'm freaking cold. We're about to be in the sun though, so I think it's gonna be all right, but whew. On skis, I think Sherman is a no-go. Otherwise, I'd have to boot pack for at least a mile, and those are big, chossy rocks. And yeah, that would just tear up my boots and tear up my knees. So we're gonna try for Horseshoe Mountain, which is over there, and hopefully has a little better coverage. Whew, I am gassed. I think even if the conditions were good, I wouldn't have made Sherman. It's been a while since I've done some high altitude stuff, and skis are a lot of work. It's a lot of weight on your feet. I'm glad that Peerless wound up being viable. I thought the Abbey conditions would be really sketchy, but it was actually really easy to traverse around the steep part and just come up this nice wide spine here. I'm not worried about the cornice falling, and I'm not going to be on like a little catwalk going down. My PB&J is frozen. I usually feel pretty stoked at the top of a mountain, but I'm gonna have to be super careful going down today. The snow is super hard pack and it's gonna be really chattery. It's gonna be really hard to control my speed, especially because I haven't skied in like over a year. And so I'm just gonna have to take it super slow. Also, the coverage is super thin, so I really don't wanna get thrown by a rock. Definitely glad I have my helmet. wrong. That was an awesome ski down. I didn't think I'd be able to skate all the way to my van, but I did. It took me 4 hours to get to the top of Peerless and 1 hour to get back down. I did have to walk a little bit, but not much. Dinner. I'm not out of food, but it's getting pretty weird. I actually just finished the rest of my regular leftovers for dinner, so this is sort of like dessert. It's not that desperate, but I'm out of butane, so I'm back using the induction again, which means my batteries are going to die if I stay here and don't get more butane, so that's a problem. But tomorrow is going to be a really nice day, so I want to try to do one more little ski tour, and then I'm going to get the heck out of here because it's going to start snowing the day after tomorrow, and I would definitely get stuck up here if I was here for that. So I took my drive shaft back in. The guy took it apart, rebuilt it with the same parts, and he told me that there is nothing wrong with it. But when I remounted it, it was way smoother. It still feels like there's a little bit of a vibration at certain speeds, but it's good enough that I can ignore it. This release cylinder was in super bad shape, and I think it was actually causing issues with my clutch. So I'm really glad that I got this fixed. All right. So pretty.